shall I render to the Lord for all his bounty to me?
Welcome to Veiled in Grace. I'm Kyra.
And I'm Anna. We are Cradle Orthodox Christians.
And we're here to talk about what it's like to be Orthodox women
in a very non-Orthodox world. So today, I'll start with a quote from Joshua 24, verse 15. "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." So in the Orthodox Church, we have a term or phrase, name, called the Little Church. And it basically is church at home. Not saying we replace church with at home, but how we create church at home. We bring the church into our lives at home. And that our homes aren't just places to live, but it's places to pray and be hospitable and to share love and forgiveness and all the things that the church stands for. We also do that at home.
Absolutely. So when I was younger, I don't think the phrase the little church was thrown around as much. I think it was coined and brought back into the center of things in more recent years because there was this like transition phase. We had our relatives that, in my case, came to America not very long ago. And for a lot of people, Orthodoxy was a way of life. It was like they eat, sleep, breathe, like they are an Orthodox Christian. They didn't just go to church. And I think America modernizing that in a way shifted into, we are Christians. We can call ourselves Christians, and we just go to church on Sunday. Maybe we just go to church on Saturday and Sunday. But it was leaving out this aspect of, well, what are you doing when you're not at church?
The rest of the week.
The rest of the week. You know, we're going, if you are only a Sunday churchgoer for whatever reason, you know, you live an hour and a half away, whatever it may be, what are you doing to fill in the gaps there? And even if you aren't a once a week churchgoer, what are you doing on all of the days in between? Do you leave the church and become a worldly person? Or do you leave the church and try to walk as Christ did and emulate that to others? And it kind of jumps a little bit into what Orthodox evangelism looks like that we've talked recently about with each other. And Orthodox evangelism is not knocking on someone's door and asking them if they've heard of Jesus. It is living the faith. It is living out what God has told us and asked us and showed us how to do. And that alone draws other people in. It's kind of what we're trying to do here. It's, you know, we are living as Orthodox Christians. We are sharing with the internet what that looks like. And that is what we pray draws people in, is realizing and seeing what it's like.
Yes. And this isn't, like you said, it's not a new concept.
No, it's not a new concept.
The term might be a new term. I don't know when that came about, the little church. Yeah. But as far as, I don't know who
coined that term, but
exactly. But as far as what it means, we do have examples in Scripture. Joshua 24, we will serve the Lord. Proverbs 24, by wisdom a house is built. In Acts 2:46, the early Christians breaking bread from house to house. And we know the early Christians, they were worshiping in homes because they couldn't be out at temples because they were being persecuted. So they had no choice but to worship in their homes. So that's where the first homes, or the first churches actually started, was in people's homes. And some still are.
I mean, there's a lot of my sister-in-law meets at a mission church in the priest's home.
Right. Yeah, because you do what you need to do to worship
Yeah.
in the space. And also, we hear of Christ performing many miracles in people's homes. So it's really important to create an atmosphere and a culture surrounding Christ and his teachings in your home.
Without separating the two.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of what we are going to talk about today centers around family life in having a little church because we have children. We're both married. We both have children. But it applies to everybody. If you are a single person, if you are a couple, you can still have a little church in your home. You do not have to have children to have a little church in your home. I brought with me a couple books today. I was going through my bookshelves I knew that I had books specifically on this topic, and I'm like searching through them, like it's got to be here somewhere. I'm not the world's most avid reader, despite the fact that I would like to be. That is more of down my mother and sister's alley. But the few books that I do enjoy reading are often books on parenting and orthodoxy and parenting.
That's pretty much all we read anyways.
Pretty
Or
much all we-
education. That's about it.
That and listening to, or education. Yeah. Listening to podcasts and listening to other things. But I brought with me one book that I'm going to reference quite a few times. And this first book is called Blueprints for the Little Church. And if you have not read it, Anna, then you should read it. It's written by Alyssa, and I can't even pronounce her last name. I'm
Is it
sorry.
Greek?
No. How do I pronounce her last name? Belechich. I'm sorry, Alyssa. It's written by Alyssa and Caleb Shoemaker. And I love this book because it has a lot of references in it from different saints, as well as their own commentary. And one that I find very important with reminding us as parents of our role in the little church, if I can find it, says, "It is important for the parents to remember that they have been crowned as king and queen of their home, and that they, not their children, will be held accountable for the spiritual life of the family." That's heavy.
Yeah.
Just a little reminder that if we're failing, it's on us. Mm-hmm. But it's really like it's a wake-up call for all parents that if you are not trying to live out the faith outside of the church, then you need to start. Because if your children are falling away from the faith and you're not trying, then that's on you.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, I mean, we've both grown up in the faith, so we've seen people
Leave.
who have been raised in the faith and then unfortunately leave. And we pray they come back. And oftentimes, not always, I mean, there's all sorts of situations and parents do their best. But if a child is seeing any sort of hypocrisy in their lives where, okay, you're saying one thing, but you're doing another with their parents, that's going to lead them astray and not trust, if they can't trust their parents in what they say because they're not acting in a Christian way, even though they're preaching to, go to church and do these things, that's going to push a child away and make them question and not really believe it, as well as just the pressures of the outside world. If we're not every day in our homes repetitively emphasizing the Christian life and through prayer and or daily prayer at home and the way we are, that's going to confuse them. And then when they're out on their own, they're going to be like,
Yeah.
What's it matter? What's the difference? Or, oh, I don't have to go to church, or I don't have to do this to still be a Christian, or, so we don't want to be hypocrites. We want to, yes, it's important to go to church when there's services, But it's just as equally as important to live that faith in your everyday life and at home, and to bring that atmosphere of church into your home.
So we both homeschool our children, and as a result of that, we often end up talking about educational philosophies and things along that lines. And one of the philosophers or philosophies, I guess you could say, that we followed are that of Charlotte Mason, and she is very popular in the Orthodox community, despite having not been Orthodox herself. But she was very popular because of her mentality of not just teaching the child one thing and expecting them to understand it. Her methodologies involve educating the entire child, educating their mind, their body, their heart, their soul, the whole child. And it so beautifully lines up with Orthodoxy, because that's how we should be. We shouldn't be teaching our child about Orthodoxy when they come to church school once a week. I'm the church school director. I say that to our parents every single year at the beginning of the year, because it's hard. Things happen and classes might get canceled, or this might happen or that might happen. And I try to remind the parents that church school is great. I don't think that we should do away with it. I obviously like our curriculum because I wrote it, but
don't rely on it.
But don't rely on it. Like if you are relying on this curriculum that the children are learning being their only education and their only exposure to the faith, then they're missing out on a lot. Mm-hmm. They're missing out on the opportunity to ask questions about things that won't arise unless it is in conversation. We sit around. I remember when I met my husband, and that was 11 years ago now. And when I first started coming over to his parents' house a lot, and my father-in-law's a priest, so naturally, conversations always revolved around church and the faith. And
I love it. I love it so much, though.
Him being a priest should not be the reason why that should happen. Like that's the point, is that that should be happening.
We should all be enjoying talking about the faith all the time.
in everyone's home that should be happening.
Yes,
But it was different than how I grew up. Like I grew up, and we went to church and we talked about church things, but there wasn't a lot of home conversation. And I think it was
home education.
Yeah, or home education on the faith. But I think it was because there was this false sense of church school is teaching us everything that we need to know about the faith.
Or just going to church. You'll learn enough.
And going to church, we learn.
Gospel readings.
And it's not that any of that's bad, but when I met my husband's family and I'm hanging around with them, and just one conversation after another, they're just casually talking about this saint and what he said on this, or what this service means, or what that service means, or asking a question and something that just comes up at a dinner table that you think has no connection to anything, and Father goes, well, actually, Saint so-and-so said this about that, so maybe we should take his advice. And we're like, well, there it is right there. So it's just the reminder of that's what it looks like to live Orthodoxy, is to have it surrounding you all the time, to have it in conversation, to talk to people that you know about it, even those that aren't Orthodox, not pushing things on people in a way that it's overwhelming for them, but you giving your perspective on things from an Orthodox perspective will open their eyes.
Mm-hmm. And just a loving conversational tone.
And that's why people, that's why people like Charlotte Mason too, because she encompasses the idea of church school is not where you're supposed to just be getting your whole education. It should be in your home. It should be outside of your home. It should be out in nature. It should be in all of these different places. And it shouldn't just be what's going on in your mind. It should be what you're feeling in your heart. It should be what you're doing and saying with your words. It should be what you're viewing. Mm-hmm. What was your home like whenever you grew up? Because you grew up in an Orthodox family too.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so we spoke about this on our first episode. We both went to public school. We were raised in the faith. We didn't have a whole lot of catechism, but we're still here in the church. So it's possible. It's, it works by just going to church and having simple things, but it was not without a lot of struggle that we've both related about, once we were adults, getting, you have so many different views and ideas and things being thrown at you in the secular world, and then you feel inadequate to be able to profess your faith because you don't know enough. So, obviously I did grow up going to Vespers Saturday evening and Divine Liturgy Sunday mornings, feast days, hit or miss because I went to school. But we were very actively involved in the church with helping, with fundraising or any aspects of it. At home, we had icons in all the rooms of our church or of our home. And we had little icon corners in our bedrooms. And I do have memories when I was a little girl of my parents praying with me before bed in front of my icon corner in my room. And we would pray before meals together. We still say the same prayer like my grandparents said from
I
there.
love the prayer that you guys say before you eat. You need to teach it to me.
Yeah, we say, may he who blessed the 5 loaves and 2 fish, the same Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, bless also this food and drink of thy servants, for you are holy, always now and forever, and to ages of ages. Amen. So that's something my grandparents still say.
We might just steal it from my family.
They're in their 90s, and that's what they say before their meals. So you can say any prayer, really. Just praying before you eat is being thankful and asking for blessings, whether it's the Our Father or some sort of prayer about the food, just setting that intention before and even after.
And after.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not as good about doing it after, but definitely before.
When we're full and content after, we forget about the thankfulness part.
Yeah. So I try to quietly to myself, thank you, Lord, but so that was probably, I'd say, kind of the extent of it in my house. We would get our home blessed every year, so we did have that.
We did that too, yeah.
But as far as like reading the lives of the saints, that wasn't really something we did. And reading the Bible was probably very hit or miss as a family.
Same.
Together. Yeah. So that was about it growing up. Yeah. We didn't say morning prayers together. So that we've talked about that before. Like that's been a hard thing for me as an adult to implement, was morning prayers, getting into that habit.
For some is really difficult, especially when your children go to school and aren't home with you. We have a little more time, but if they're not, it's hard to put that into their schedule.
Right. So like days that we have to leave the house and we're in a bustle, like we'll say our morning prayers in the car.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but at least we're doing it. You do what you have to do to get it, to be still doing it and have that intention and that culture, and your children knowing that they can pray anytime, anywhere. I think that's important too, because I often felt like, oh, you can only say like Orthodox prayers. Yeah. And then I would meet like Protestant people and they're just like praying all the time. And I think there could be a good balance of.
Which I think we mentioned before. I was sharing that I didn't realize that at least people that I know that are part of the Roman Catholic Church have shared that they have set prayers to pray. And like they don't really stray from that. Like they pray set prayers for certain purposes, and we have that in the Orthodox Church. But in my own like daily prayer life, especially in like evening prayers, I have kind of had to like learn how to pray, because like speaking to God in a way that wasn't like a rigid set prayer seemed very foreign to me. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of really good resources for how to implement prayer into your daily life, and not just prayer, but how to live an Orthodox life, which is about what we're going to jump into here pretty soon. But before we do that, I want to share another quote from this book, from the Blueprints for the Little Church. So this is from Blessed Father Seraphim Rose. He was asked to, in a letter, to share things for spiritual guidance. And so this is one of the points that he offered for guidance. And I want everyone to keep this in mind if you are someone that does not have a lot going on in your life outside of the church. He said, number 1, learn first of all to be at peace with the spiritual situation which has been given to you and to make the most of it. So in your spiritual situation, keep in mind that everyone is in a different stage. If you are someone that is doing all of the things and you're overwhelmed, then maybe talk to your priest and figure out a way that you can live the faith but have more peace in your heart. If you are someone that is not really doing anything outside of going to church, then welcome. We have some things to share because we were there. We were both there. I've been married for 7 years now, and you've been married for
18
years now. And I'd say that, I don't know if your journey, if you want to call it that, started like when you got married or if it came more about when you had children. But for me, it was more like when we got married, my husband and I kind of had to figure out the rhythm and the routine of like what our prayer life was going to look like. And keep in mind that it involves introducing new things slowly over time. Mm-hmm. It's like with teaching our children. You can't do everything all at once. Like if you're not doing anything and you want to try to do everything, you will get really overwhelmed. Little things to start, not even in the home, outside of the home. Every time we get into the car, we cross ourselves and say a prayer to stay safe while we are driving.
You say a specific prayer?
Not generally anything specifically. We usually make the sign of the cross, and I don't know exactly what my husband says. I know he prays when he gets in the car. Usually I'm with my kids, and I will just say something like, Lord, keep us safe while we travel. And as simple as that. And my kids, it's so beautiful to see because I don't turn around and go, okay, everybody has to cross themselves now. We're about to get in the car. I do it, and I say something, whatever comes to my mind at the moment, out loud. And my car is usually loud because I have 3 children under 7. And then 1 or 2 or all 3 of them I see in my rearview mirror are also crossing themselves. When we're driving down the road, we drive past our church a lot. We live very close to our church. Some of my best friends live right past my church. And my kids, my husband and I would cross ourselves as we drive past our church. Just, we see our church and it's a reminder of our faith. We make the sign of the cross, and my children do the same thing. Oftentimes now, if I forget, they're like, you need to cross yourselves. And the one brother's like, make sure you cross him, when the baby was like 6 months old. And so he's like reaching over, trying to cross him in his car seat. But that's a little thing outside of the home that we do.
That reminds me when I was in Greece and we were in a taxi cab in Athens, and our taxi driver, it was almost like he was praying while driving. If you don't know, Greece is a predominantly Orthodox country, and I would randomly see him like crossing himself, but it was dark out, so I couldn't really see like, are we passing churches or cemeteries? Why does he keep crossing himself? Or is he just praying this whole time? It was really awesome to see, but I was like, and I couldn't really talk to him because he didn't speak much English, but it was really beautiful to see. And even for my children to witness that, somebody professing their faith.
Sometimes I talk about anxiety again.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just be driving and just get really anxious that, the Five Little Ducklings song comes on the radio for my kids. And then I remember that the last time that played was whenever we were in an accident. And, like the thought of something bad comes into my mind and I make the sign of the cross because I'm like, nope, we are not going to do this today. We're not going to let fear overcome my travel today. The Lord's going to keep us safe. And if something happens, it was meant to be. Or I'll just be driving and my brain never stops. I'll just think of something, and whether it be someone that I need to pray for or whatever, I will just make the sign of the cross. And sometimes my kids are like, why did you cross yourself?
Yeah.
There's no church here. And then I'm like, oh, well, I crossed myself because I was thinking about so-and-so. And then I remembered that they're, having surgery in a couple days, or they have the flu, or whatever
Praying
reason.
for someone. Yeah.
But that is that's the example of showing your children what it looks like, because then they will do the same. Mm-hmm. It's not me sitting there saying, you need to cross yourself right now because we're passing the church, or because we're doing this, or because we're doing that. It's me living it out and then them following.
Witnessing
Some
Christ.
things, though, some things are much more structured. Some things do need the parents to step in and set the routine and set the habits and show the children what it looks like to do and to live a prayerful life in your home. Do you want to talk about maybe what your day looks like and how you intertwine prayer life or certain prayers during the day into your life or into your kids' education?
Yeah, so everyone kind of wakes at different times. So
Must be really nice.
the whole waking up and praying your morning prayers before you take a drink of water, coffee, or tea or whatever, that doesn't end up happening. When I wake up, I'll try to remember to at least make the sign of the cross as I wake up. But I usually do wait till everybody's awake to then do our formal morning prayers. So at breakfast, I try to remember to, if everybody's not chaotic and eating at different times, whatnot, we say a prayer before eating. Or if people are, if somebody is still sleeping when somebody else is eating, whoever's awake first, we'll say the prayer to bless the food. And then when the others wake up, I'll just let them know, oh, we already prayed for the food, but you can cross yourself, like just as a gentle reminder. And they will. But they oftentimes will just sit down and say their own prayer when they go to eat, which I love witnessing a little child sit down to eat and cross themselves and say a prayer before they eat. Like, it just warms my heart. So I'm like, I know I'm doing at least one thing right. So then after everyone's eaten, then we do our formal morning prayers. So in the Orthodox Church, we have what are called icon corners. And traditionally, they are on like the east wall of your home or room. They don't have to be, depending on where you're at.
When we moved into our house, our east wall in our dining room, which is where we wanted our prayer corner, was like the one wall that it absolutely could not go on because I wanted a banquet. And that's where the banquet had to go. And my husband and I think he finally just took a deep breath and was like, I'm not going to win this argument. Like, he so badly wanted it on the east wall. And I was like, it's going on that wall. That's the only open wall for it. Yeah. The Lord will forgive us.
Yeah. Ours is like northeast wall. And it's not the most eastern part of the wall.
I don't even think our church is facing the right direction. So,
because that's where our bar is. And then we have a fireplace on the east wall. So
right above the bar.
So we have it. It's right where our dining table is. It's right there. And so traditionally you have, you might have a cross and then an icon of Christ, an icon of the Theotokos or the Mother of God, and then whatever saints, icons of saints.
Your family's patron saints.
Family's patron saints. I mean, whatever.
Your godchildren's patron saints.
Yeah, it can be whatever. I mean,
Saints that you like.
yeah. People just gift me icons. So a lot of times I'm like, I don't even know who this is. It's in a different language and I don't know.
Yeah.
I had somebody at my house once and like, I'd love to talk to you about these icons. They all kind of look alike. So I'm a little confused. I was like, yeah, it's a lot of beards.
You're like,
and
so am I.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, they do all a lot of them look alike. A lot of gray beards. So anyway, so we have icons, an icon corner. You could have candles or incense, maybe a jar of holy water or holy oil. And you have a little table or shelf or dresser or whatever it is that you have to store your things. I have just like this little table, and then it has another little shelf below it, so I have a basket, and that's kind of where I just collect all the things. As far as our morning prayers go, because I said that it was hard for me to get in the habit of saying morning prayers, I remember my former priest, him asking like after confession, like, so are you saying your morning prayers? And I'm like, no. And he's like, can you just at least cross yourself when you wake up? And I tell you how hard that was for me to even remember to do. Like there was definitely a blockage.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. In giant print on the side of my wall where I open my eyes to look at every single day in an effort to remind myself for prayer to be the first thing that I do when I wake up. And yet I still struggle with not going to grab my phone first.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Keep your phone not in the bedroom.
It's difficult. Like praying is difficult. Integrating prayer into your home is difficult.
And the devil will make up every excuse in your brain to not do it. I mean, this was years it took me. So finally, once I had kids and once we were starting to try to get in the routine of school, like that is when I finally was like, no, okay, I really got to do this. Like this is, so I started with a children's prayer book that our former Matushka had put together for the church school children. So I was like, okay, I can start with children's prayers. And because I'm with my kids, so I don't want them to feel this laborious, long prayer.
And that they don't understand
it. Right. But it was still the Trisagion prayers and the Our Father and prayer to the Theotokos and to your guardian angel, but they were just a little bit shortened. So that's what I started with, was just basic children's prayers. And then slowly over the years started adding in, the prayer requests, all the people, praying for our family. Well, we would pray for family members. And then 2020, when COVID happened, I would wake up and just to myself say the morning prayer. It's kind of allocated to two different groups of people. I've seen it for the Optina elders, and I've seen it St. Philaret, or Metropolitan Philaret. But
Philaret.
Yeah,
I usually write that on cards for people for if they're having babies.
It's the most beautiful morning prayer. So I started saying that just to myself when I'd wake up to help get me through that stressful year, and it really did. Amazing. Like it worked. Prayer works. So now we've added that into our morning prayers together. So my boys all know that one as well. I will say, so this was mainly praying morning prayers was just me and the children, because my husband usually was already at work. But now that he's home more and working remotely, it's so nice to be able to have him at morning prayers with us more often. And so yeah, we would do our morning prayers, and I'd let the kids take turns who's lighting the candles or the incense, or just so everyone, and whoever lights them that day, they say the family names of who we're praying for, so everybody has it all memorized. So you do what you need to involve your children. I personally don't force them to stand the whole time. I encourage them to, and I do. And I might ask, especially like for the Lord's Prayer, I'll say, okay, get up, because I do believe in that. They'll see you doing it. They'll remember that. And once they mature,
yeah,
they'll
there's the
stand
fine
up.
line of like their children. Same thing with them in the church. Like they're children. So what is developmentally appropriate for them as children? But setting an expectation of like, sometimes you do have to do things that you don't want to do or that might make you uncomfortable, but it will be good for you.
Yeah.
Like ours, because our dining room is kind of set back a little bit and that's where our icon corner is, we generally just try to keep the rule of like, you have to stay in the dining room while we are praying. And that often involves like, a 2-year-old that like walks out and then you go and you bring them back in. We're going to stay here while we pray. And they walk out and you bring them back in.
Yeah, just encouraging them to be in the room with you and to be quiet and respectful. Those are my main rules. And for the most part, not always. There's also that usually, so if it is kind of chaotic when we're trying to say morning prayers, I have another prayer that I will say, I forgot to bring it, but I will share it in the notes below.
Make sure you read the notes of this episode.
We will share,
We'll share lots
links
of things.
But it's a prayer in my prayer book for when children quarrel. And so if I'm like starting to
Go ahead and send that to me.
I'm starting to lose my patience, I will get it out. They'll all start grumbling as soon as I start saying it because it's like, but I say it and it's the most beautiful
Thank you,
prayer.
Lord. We will be quiet and happy
Yes.
and peaceful.
And by the end of it, everyone does kind of calm down. Prayer works. So I'll start with that sometimes just to get everybody to calm down, and then we can start, the tricep or the Cherubikim. And sometimes we sing it. Sometimes we just say the prayers. Just depends what kind of mood I'm in.
We both have boys, and in my opinion, they're like on a totally different level than my friends that have girls. Trying to get boys involved, young boys, in your prayer life it's not easy.
Yes. So you set the example. That's why I try to remind myself, I'm setting the example. One day they will remember this. They see it, they're doing it every day, and they will remember this. So when they go off on their own, and if they don't say their morning prayers, they're going to feel like something's missing. We do homeschool, so then we go up for our formal lessons, and we have a short little prayer we say before we start the actual lessons, and then we always try to start with reading the Bible, and just like even just 10 passages, like just doesn't, especially depending on how old your children are, it doesn't have to be very long, a 10-15 minute read it and either discuss it, or the Charlotte Mason method is they narrate back to you what they remember. And I'll read any notes that are in the study Bible, Orthodox study Bible, which we'll link to also. But that's really the extent of my discussion on it, is whatever's in those notes and whatever we can discuss together. I don't try to go too deep with
But
young
then sometimes
children.
it comes up later on.
Yeah.
I just remember, I'll get into sharing, what we, the Bible that we read with our kids, but I remember recently we had read about Moses and my kids coming up to Grandpa, the priest, and being like, did you know that Moses, and then telling him about Moses, and he's like, wow, how interesting, never heard of him before.
Yeah, so with younger children, it would be more of a picture Bible that you would do, and then a picture book on saints or a catechism book, whatever, depending on age appropriate. This year I was trying something new, but you want to do something, or at least I feel something Orthodox after that, some sort of either Lives of the Saints or catechism, or we have we study an icon maybe, or and you could listen to, there's Saints of the Day stories on podcast apps that you can listen to if you don't want to read or if you don't have access to books. But it just depends on the ages of your kids. And so that's about it for our school lessons. Obviously, we homeschool, so kind of God is woven through everything. And then we have a prayer to end our lessons, and then other than praying before meals the rest of the day, in the evening we do evening prayers actually in their bedroom. That's where we end up doing them. Probably as they get older we'll transition, but that's just kind of how it has happened. So we just do it in their bedroom in front of their icon corners, which I actually think is important also, just so you remember, like, you can pray in your bedroom to your icon corner. You can pray in our family icon corner. You know, like,
you can pray anywhere.
You can pray anywhere, right? Because that's another thing. Sometimes if you're only in the family prayer corner, they might feel like they can't pray in their room. So it is good to show different places that you can pray, and it all means the same. It all counts. So that's probably the extent of like our day. And I would say for any parents who don't homeschool, it is important to still try to somewhat do that.
Just because your child goes to school doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a prayer life and know what it's like to have a prayer life and even pray at school.
Yes. Yeah. And also an education life. Like, we should always be trying to deepen our faith and educating ourselves on our faith. And I don't think I didn't grasp that for a long time. I remember going to New York City, and I was at my church. I felt so inadequate because these people would talk about all of this like theological stuff, and I'm like, I feel so dumb. The only way you can talk about the faith when someone asks you like, oh, well, why do you do that? And not stare at them like deer in headlights, you actually can respond and feel comfortable responding. And for a long time, I didn't. People would ask questions, or even my husband, who was an inquirer in our marriage for the first 8 years of our marriage, he didn't convert. So, he would ask me certain questions. I'm like, I don't know. I just grew up doing it. I don't know why I do it,
Yeah.
And
I kind of felt the same way, like in high school, when people would ask me, and I'm like,
right.
The same thing, like, why do you celebrate Easter at a different time?
Yeah.
Like we were saying, and we're like, because we do.
Yeah.
You learn a lot by teaching other people.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to teach other people, you need to do some research first if you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I remember my girlfriend in New York City, she was an avid reader, and she's like, I always have a nonfiction book, a fiction book, and a book of poetry, and I just rotate. And I was like, wow, that's so lovely.
That's what readers do.
But so I've been kind of tried to take that of like, I should always be like, have at least one Orthodox book in my pile of books on my bedside table that I may or may not be reading, but it is at least there.
May or may not be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to the sweet friend of ours from church that I borrowed a book from her library. That's due next week, and I haven't even started it.
So, at least I've started it maybe, and then it's, you have your rotation of like what mood you're in. I have like a homeschool book, a church book, a fun book, a whatever. How about you? What does your little church at home look like?
I pulled out another quote.
Okay.
While you were sharing some things with us to start before I dive into my little church. The second book that I have here today is called Raising Them Right. It says A Saint's Advice on Raising Children, and it's by Saint Theophan the Recluse. And I'm not sharing a quote directly from this book, but I am sharing a quote from the Blueprint for the Little Church book that is by Saint Theophan, and is very likely in his book too. And he said, if there is prayer, the soul lives. Without prayer, there is no spiritual life. So what does that look like in my home? Well, what does our day look like? I have 3 children. They are 2, 4, and 6. So they're all young. They're all wild boys.
You're in the thick of it.
I'm in it. I was laughing when you're like, everyone wakes up at different times in our home. And I'm like, oh, it must be really nice, because as soon as the first child is awake, my husband generally leaves before anyone is awake. He starts work early in the morning, and he's very, very quiet. But my children, as soon as one child is awake, they are all awake. 2 of them share a room, and the youngest one always hears as soon as everyone is awake. So everyone's up. We get up. We get breakfast ready, and we eat breakfast together, partially because of, the stage that I'm in, and, 2/3 of them need their food cut up for them. So they can't exactly go eat it by themselves, but they learn their patience by getting their food and sitting and waiting at the table for all of 30 seconds for mommy to grab her plate and make it to the table. It's really a struggle. You put food in front of a young child that's hungry, and that's difficult for them to wait there for 1 minute just for me to grab my plate and them not start eating. And you look over and the 4-year-old's just like,
oh, so many times where I'm like, we haven't prayed yet.
And I'm like, and the older brother's like, yeah, we haven't prayed yet. And then I walk over, and then the 2-year-old's like pointing to the other one, yelling words that you don't fully understand, but trying to say that he's like eating when he shouldn't be. And then me trying to explain to them, it's not just the eating because we haven't prayed, but because it is a kind thing to do, because mommy has spent the last hour making you breakfast from scratch. And I'm also hungry, and it would be very sweet if you would wait for me to sit down so that I could eat with you. But we all sit down and we say a very simple, Lord Jesus Christ, please bless our food, because that is as simple as it can be for a 2 and 4-year-old to remember at this point in time. And we eat our breakfast, and after we have our breakfast, this has probably been the last year, I started making, immediately following breakfast, our Bible time, because I have everyone seated. We have not gone off to play yet, and it's very hard to gather them all back up at one point in time. And the 2-year-old is still in a high chair so that he's not standing on our table. And, I know he's not going to go run away, so he's kind of listening, whether he wants to be listening or not, while he's dumping food on the floor. And
Struggle is real.
it's a fun time. In case you've forgotten what it's like, Anna, when your kids are this little.
You do kind of forget.
Come on over for breakfast and we'll remind you. But I have a children's Bible reader, and we will link it on here.
It's probably sold out.
It's probably
or out
sold
of print.
out. It's probably out of print. They did reissue multiple of them. But this children's Bible reader I found recommended in so many Orthodox parenting groups that I was like, I need to have this. I need to find it. I don't know how I'm going to find it. I thought it was as simple as just going on the internet just to find out that they hadn't printed it in 10 years. So the only chances of me finding it was to find it in an Orthodox Church bookstore somewhere. And this is where the internet came into play very beautifully. And I just posted in one of the groups and asked if there was anyone that knew how I could get one. And this one mom from the other side of the country was like, I think we have that in our bookstore. And I paid her to have it shipped to me, and
that's awesome.
it was wonderful. I was so happy to have it. The reason that I sought out this Bible reader is because I have one of those, really chunky children's Bibles, and it has a picture, a cartoony looking picture, and then it has a story, and the story's a paragraph long, and they're okay, here's all of, Joseph in one paragraph. The Bible reader obviously doesn't cover every single story of the Bible, but it, first of all, has photos in it that very closely resemble Orthodox icons. So it, when my kids see it, they think that they're looking at like an icon. Like it's not necessarily an icon, but it's a depiction of something that so similarly looks like an icon, and it looks like realistic. It doesn't look like this like cartoon character that they're reading about.
Quality illustrations. Very
high quality. And the stories, I like that they are written in a tone that is appropriate for children, but they don't change the details of things to say something that didn't actually like happen. Like if we're talking of the beheading of St. John the Baptist, we're not pretending like he wasn't beheaded. Like it's still going to talk about that. But in a way that's not going to be terrifying for a young child.
Yeah.
I love it. So we can share that if anyone wants to try to find it. My kids really like it, and they've learned a lot from it. My 6-year-old loves it. He often will request it to be the book that he reads before he goes to bed. But that's kind of how we start. I read after breakfast while we're all together. We will read out of our story Bible, and then we clean up and start to move on with our day. I don't like being a homebody because I'm an extrovert. So a lot of days we will go somewhere or have friends come over to us, or if we are home, the kids will play most of the morning. At lunchtime, lunch is a little less formal sit down. Like I'll make lunch, or this kid wants this or this kid wants this, and kind of random like odds and bits, because they often eat a really big breakfast. And then just remind them as they take their plate of food to go say a prayer before you eat your food. And so they pray before they eat their food. Intertwined into all of it are random questions about the faith, or random things, or arguments that break out, and reminders that how does God want us to act? Would he like it if we did this to this person or this to this person?
Just making them think.
Aside from our praying at breakfast and our reading the Bible, we do not do the best at saying our morning prayers together. It's like the ebb and flow of like, I'll really get into it and I'll be like, we need to say our morning prayers, and then we'll do it for 6 months. I'm like,
it's really hard.
It's really difficult because I'm the only one that can read in my home of my youngest of my children. Like it's me reading while at the same time trying to hold a baby and keep the other ones in the room. And like I'm sweating by the time that we're done, and I don't know if they've heard a single word that we've said, and we're making our way back into it. But
even just saying one simple prayer in front of it doesn't have to involve the candles. It doesn't have to, but just like them knowing that this is our morning prayer.
I think that's the struggle too, is like it feels like you have to do so much that, when I pull out my book and the papers that we follow for our morning prayers, and it's like this long, and their attention span is like this long, then it's like I'm leaving morning prayers being stressed out and frustrated, and they're leaving morning prayers being stressed out and frustrated. So again, it's
a work in progress.
I'm not perfect. Our prayer life is not perfect. In the afternoon, for my oldest two, will do some loose homeschool work, because again, they're both young. And when they're doing that, we will read like about different saints. We have I think they're called Pontimus Publishing. I don't want to say it wrong, but or how it's pronounced, but similar to that, Pontimus Publishing, and they have a bunch of different little saints books that talk about different saints. And so we will read oftentimes one of those, and those usually stay in our icon corner so that they're not getting thrown around the house. But my kids love to pray. Like, they love to pray. My 2-year-old, people have commented, they're like, wow, when he's at church, he just loves to walk around and sense people the whole time. And I'm like, well, yeah, because he does it for like 4 hours a day at home. My kids, they see it so often. Like, we come to church so often, and they like it, that it's what they tend to do at home. Like, it's what's intertwined into their play. Because they're at an age that play is so central to what they do, I love it that they want to play church. They just this week, I was in my basement with my husband, and I'm like, can we please find literally any sort of stand in this basement that is not my laundry basket full of sorted clean clothes for them to use as their gospel stand? Because they don't clean it up afterwards. Every single day they would go downstairs, they'd take a full basket of like sorted, I have 3 kids, so I sort their clothes into their baskets, and then they will put them away, and they'll take a whole basket, dump it all out, so that they can take the basket that's like perfect child height and sit the laundry basket up on the 3rd step where our platform is on our basement stairs, so that they're higher up above everyone else, and they'll sit it there, and then they'll go run upstairs and they'll get the story Bible, and they'll get their other saints books, and they'll come down and they'll open them up on there, and they might fight a little bit over who gets to be the priest that day and who has to be the altar servers that day. But
do they make communion?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My oldest,
we would get served communion all
my
the time.
oldest, when he was like 2, would have like Play-Doh in his little chalice. A moonin for you. The 2-year-old loves to blow out incense sticks. So he comes over and is like, "Yite it, you yite it?" And I'm like, "You want me to light it?" So, "Yite it," so that he can blow it out. I guess before I get into the evening, my icon corner, I am a believer in, yes, icons should be like, they should be protected and they should be well cared for. But if you don't have your icons in a place that your children can even access them, then they can't interact with them. Like, we interact with the icons, not because we think that they are that person, but because we see the beauty that they hold. And that's what I want my children to also be able to do. So like, my icon corner has like 2 tiers that we've built shelves onto our wall. Our top shelf is where I have like my incense, and is where I have the candles, and where I put the things that we tell my kids, like, this one you have to ask for permission to touch. A visual reminder of this top shelf you cannot use. That separation kind of happened after we almost lit the whole icon corner on fire before.
Can't touch? Oh, that means I will touch.
But the bottom shelf of it, I have a little like blessing cross that the 2-year-old also loves to come over all day long and have everybody kiss. Must kiss his hand also. Even your son, when I was teaching church school the other day, my 2-year-old comes in, discovers that there's a blessing cross on that table there, and he walks up to your son and is holding it up for him to kiss like this, and he's going, "Kiss miss, kiss miss." And I'm thinking that he's saying Christmas because it's almost Christmas time, and your other son goes, "No, he's saying Christ is in our midst." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, he is saying that." And I was like, "Are you saying Christ is in our midst?" And he goes, "Kiss miss, kiss miss." And I'm like, see, they take in way more than people give them credit for. And so, it's just again, so cute.
If you're not Orthodox, at the end of our services, the priest has the cross, and he says, "Christ is in our midst." And you say, "He is and always shall be." And you kiss the cross in his hand, which reminds me, when I was younger, I used to think it was "He is always shall be."
Oh, yeah, because I say "He is and always shall be," because my church did grow up saying that "He is and always shall be," but I guess shall be. He is Shelby. That's funny.
He is always Shelby. And I was like, who's Shelby?
Yeah, that is so funny. My home, like, that's what my house looks like all the time. Like, it's just kind of intertwined into things that we do all the time.
It's
like
the culture.
It's
family
the culture.
Yeah.
Like, and also in our icon corner, like, I have my shelves. So we have our blessing cross, and I recently decluttered my icon corner, what was on the shelves, because it was getting a little overwhelming. But beneath my shelves, like, the bottom shelf is probably about head height of a 2-year-old. So my 2-year-old, to see up onto that shelf, has the little step stool that he steps up on to see it. What I love under that is I have these 2 acrylic shelves that are just underneath of the other shelf that are at like little kid height and like, 1-year-old height and like baby height, like they can crawl up and see. And on those ones, I keep a few of the like small 2x3 inch or so icons. I'll have like 1 or 2 down there, and then I'll put 1 or 2 of the Pontimus Publishing books down there too, so that they can actually walk up and interact with them. And then it gives us the opportunity to teach them how to be gentle with things. If they pick it up and they try to put it on the floor, and you remind them, oh no, this is an icon, and you kiss it and you put it back on the shelf, and then they do the same thing. The other way that we set ours up for children is it's not exactly their icon corner, but in their bedrooms, we have magnet boards. I love these. I started this when my youngest was a baby, and now I have one in both of our 2 bedrooms, and a magnet board about that big. And I've either made and like Mod Podged icons onto small little wooden like plaques, or I've bought ones that are like miniature size icons, and you put a little magnet on the back of it and they stick onto the magnet board. And my kids love it. When my oldest was like 2, he could name every single saint on his little icon board. Wow. He used to love just sitting there and taking them off and go, a mama saint, a dada saint, because we had Christ and the children, we had one of Christ, one of the Theotokos, Saints Peter and Paul. I tried to have like a patron saint for all of our family members, and so that's why he'd be like, this mama's saint. So that we keep in their rooms. I'm about to be redoing my older kids' room, and it'll be the first time that I'll probably give them a little more of an opportunity to ask them how they'd like it set up for them. But for young children, it's wonderful because we have friends over to our house all the time, and their little kids are like, what are those? Because it's something that's at their eye level and they can see and interact with. And we usually put their larger guardian angel icon that they got at their baptism above it. After noon, after homeschool, we have our evenings. We pray together more formally before we have dinner. Okay. I'm a big believer in and so is my husband, of you should sit down and have dinners together as a family. There are very few days that we don't all sit down and have a meal together, because that's where conversations arise. And so we say the Lord's Prayer, we all stand up, we bless our food. My husband blesses our food. If my husband's ever not there for whatever reason, if he's traveling or working really, really late, it's always really cute because my kids will want to bless the food instead. And, my 2-year-old from as young as 1 stands there and goes like this at the same time, trying to bless the food. We sit and we eat. We have our whole, my kids are young, so we have bedtime routines and all the baths and cleaning up and reading stories. And like I said, my oldest loves reading the Bible. It's his book of choice usually. And my youngest goes to bed usually before the others. So our nighttime routine is also, it's an ebb and flow of how our nighttime prayers were. We go through phases that were really great at standing in the icon corner and reading our evening prayers together. And then when you have babies, it's hard because they're on such a different schedule. And when you're breastfeeding them too, my husband can't breastfeed my baby to put them, to put him to sleep. So then I'm not there if they're going to pray, and we kind of ebb and flow. We try to cycle back to praying together as a family. At the moment, it's more of my husband will say prayers with my older kids in their bedrooms by their icons, and I will pray with the youngest one who goes to bed a little bit earlier than the others. But how do you intertwine praying into their daily life? You encourage them and pray with them even before they go to bed. There was a good 6-month span when my youngest, who's 2.5 right now, and he still does. He likes to have songs sung to him. before he goes to bed. He's my most like routine driven. My oldest was like, please throw me in my crib and don't look back. My second was like, just rock me for a minute. My third is like, I want to read 3 books and I want to be rocked and sung songs. And I'm going to tell you what songs I want sung. Then you can turn on my shusher and my little stars and then you can leave. So it's a little more of a routine, but bring the church into your home. Bring the songs and the hymns from church into your home and sing them with your children. I jokingly, but not jokingly, said that it's a good thing that our babysitters are Orthodox Christians from our church, because my 2-year-old, when he was 1, wanted to have Holy God sung to him every night, and not just 1, but 2 different variations of it.
Oh gosh.
So I was like, I'm glad that you know these, because he would like you to sing both variations of it before he goes to bed. His top favorites are probably just singing Lord Have Mercy.
Oh.
Like he wants Lord Have Mercy just on repeat, and the Jesus Prayer. The Jesus Prayer is like top tier favorite song, and it's cute because despite me every single time saying, oh, you want the Jesus Prayer, he doesn't remember what it's called. So when you ask him what he wants to sing, he just goes, Lord Jesus, I send down mercy me sinner. I'm like, that's okay. You want the Jesus Prayer. But prayer calms children down too. I mean, I've had times that the 2-year-old is like, I'm not taking a nap. And I'm like, yes, you are taking a nap, because we'll all lose our minds in an hour and a half if you don't take a nap. So he comes kicking, screaming to bedtime or to nap time. And I told my husband the one day, I'm like, I just sat down in the rocking chair and I'm holding him against his will because he's telling me he's not going to sleep today because he's probably overtired. And I just start rocking and singing the Jesus Prayer. And then you just like feel his body just start to relax. And after singing it like twice, I just like stop for a moment. And he just looks at you and it's like, Lord Jesus, I send down mercy me sinner. You keep singing?
That reminds me, I remember one night my youngest son, he was still in our room and he just kept waking in the middle of the night. And I remember the one time I'm just laying there like he was well tended to. I knew.
Yep, I know you have everything you need.
And I'm just in my sleep like saying the Jesus Prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, and just saying it with his name. And it was amazing because like I just said it just a few times and then he fell back to sleep and didn't wake up again until morning. I was like, oh, thank God.
The Lord hears your prayers. He realizes when we're really like at our wits' end and don't know what else to do. But
yeah, something I didn't mention. So an important part of the church life and bringing it home is feast days.
Yes.
Especially like we said, like we went to school, so going to church might not necessarily be an option or a viable option for you if you're working or children. So it's important to still celebrate the feast in your home somehow if you're not able to go to the services, or even if you are.
Or you can take your kid out of school to go to the services and tell the schools how important it is for your children to go to church.
Yes, actually, you can submit to your school your church calendar to let them know which feast days are Orthodox feast days and that they are required to have off those days, religious freedom.
And I'm sure your priest will also back you up on that.
Yes, that is something you can do for your children's sake.
Your children go to school a lot.
Right, yeah.
They should go to church just as much.
And they want to, because they get off school that day, or at least that morning. They'll get out of classes and they'll want to go to church. And maybe
go back and tell their friends where they were.
Yes, yeah. Maybe they can go out to lunch with mom or dad and make it a special thing. They'll remember that. And so at home, it's something you could either just say the Troparion for the feast or sing it if you know it. If it's the major feast, Christmas or Pascha, Easter, I know Draw Near Designs, they have wall calendars. So I have the Christmas one, the Advent one. I have
And the Lenten one.
I have the Lenten one, and I did get the Dormition of the Theotokos one that has like round flowers.
Yes.
It's so pretty. That one's a little harder in the middle of summer, and we're going camping, but it's there. Yes.
Those are beautiful ways to intertwine it into your house. So even if your kid is going to public school and they're coming home, like that was part of our everyday when we do our evening prayers, the kids taking turn of who gets to move the candle this day.
Right. And they made one now from Pascha to Pentecost. So I got that one.
I
Now
should
they
buy
just
them
got
all,
another
yeah.
one. They just put out, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll wait till next year.
So they have one for all of the year. That sounds great.
Because now there's another one for the 12 days after Christmas. So the 12 days of Christmas, which is not before Christmas. The 12 days of Christmas is after Christmas, if you didn't know. Yeah, so those are just different ways that you can, or read. There's lots of different books on the 12 great feasts of the church that you can read, children's books, so that way they can understand what the feast is and at least somewhat understand it, because that was something that was kind of lacking with us growing up.
There's a lot of resources now that we didn't have before. So like if you're looking for something that's very budget friendly, you don't want to spend money on something or can't spend money on buying a lot of things, go to the OCA website. There's going to be your epistle and your gospel for the day and all of the saints of the day. And
apps you can listen to. Or there's
apps that you can listen to them. If you want to buy something tangible to have with your kids, there's Draw Near has lots of things. Pontimus Publishing. I would like to get the whole set. I have a few of them. I'd love to get all of them for my children, but they have each month a book that has the saint for every single day. I know I at least have January and I think one other, and my kids love it. I'm like, sorry, I don't have all the other ones.
I've collected the 12 months from New Rome Press, and so theirs isn't every day. It's like maybe 6 or 7 saints of the month, and they're a little bit longer stories and illustrations. But yeah, so that's a great way, for Christmas or birthdays. It's a good gift to get
when your family's asking what your kids want.
Right. That's how you build your home library.
Everyone's in a different stage of life, but we also shouldn't be always making excuses for not doing it.
At least be doing something.
Yeah, you don't have to do, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to do everything. And that's what the one quote was saying too. Like, you don't have to do everything at once, but pick something. Like, if you are doing nothing, then say one little prayer when you are in the drop-off line for preschool. Say one little prayer before you eat dinner together. And not just in your home. If you're a person that is doing wonderful praying in your home, but when you leave your home, you're not doing as much, get in your car, say a prayer, put an icon in your car to remind you to say a prayer. My husband was also, ironically, the same year that I was in a very bad car accident with his brother, and other than their little pin of the Theotokos on their visor, have no idea how they walked out of that accident alive because their car was crushed and totaled. But yet their little pin at their head of the Theotokos was just there and fine, and they were right under it.
Wow.
So like, say a prayer when you get in your car before you drive. Say a prayer if you're getting in an airplane before you fly. Say a prayer if you're out at a restaurant and there are other people around.
Yeah, I remember I was at lunch with friends in New York, and my one friend was Christian and my other friend was raised Jewish. And so we'd gotten pizza, and I just crossed myself before I ate it. I didn't say a prayer. That was my prayer. And because you also, you don't want to force it on people or make it a thing. You want to keep that humility. That's a balance of, being humble, but also showing your faith. But I remember her saying, who was raised Jewish, she was like, I'm Jewish, but I really love that you just did that right now. So those little things, don't be embarrassed, because I often would struggle and fight that temptation to feel embarrassed. Even honestly, I admit, the whole morning prayers or doing them formally at the prayer corner, because my husband wasn't Orthodox, I felt like embarrassed to do that because that wasn't something he was raised doing. So it was a long time before I got the confidence.
My husband and I are both Orthodox, and it's still sometimes like the awkward conversation of one of us being like, hey, we've kind of strayed away from doing our prayers at the icon corner as a family. Let's start doing it again. And like the gentle nudge of like, it's on both of you. That's what I was saying. Like if you are the parents and you have children, it's on both of you to set that example for your children. And it's okay for them to see that sometimes you fall away from things, but what they need to see is that you always go back to it.
And this reminds me, and actually this was some of the notes, if you do live in a home that's not quite as both parents being Orthodox or even both parents being Christian, there's lots of that. So you obviously need to be in touch with your spiritual father to get his guidance on how to navigate that, because again, you don't want to push on your spouse, but you also don't want to not
neglect your own spiritual
exactly.
life.
We do see that the children whose homes are split like that, they do struggle the most. So it's so important to be in constant communication with your spiritual father to keep working at it, and encouraging your spouse, but without pushing. And I remember even, I think that was probably one of the things that kind of led my husband to finally convert, was that my son was getting to the age where he's like, why aren't you going to communion?
Mm-hmm.
So
like, you're coming to church, but why aren't you communing or doing the other things that we're doing?
Yeah. So again, it's more work, unfortunately, if you don't have a supportive spouse.
Pray for your spouse.
Pray for your spouse. And again, you be the example without preaching, without pushing, without, you can keep the invitation open and you just let them see the change in you and see Christ in you. And you pray that one day that will guide them.
And let God work within them.
Right. And your children. But it's even more important if you're in that situation to really try your best at bringing the church into your home in whatever way you can do that still respects your spouse.
Everyone needs a little church in their home and in their life, not just the people also that have children. If you are a married couple and you don't have children, there's two sides of it. You could be a married couple that doesn't have children, and say you're a newly married couple. Take the time to form the habits before you have children. I remember when my youngest was probably 3 months old that my husband and I had the conversation of, we probably should eat our dinner before 9:00 at night at our island. Like, we should start getting in the routine of, because it was like we'd put the little baby to sleep and then we'd eat our dinner late at night because we're both night owls. And we were like,
Our first baby, we did that too.
Yeah, we were like, our baby's not going to be awake until...
Yeah. Once they started eating solids, we're like, oh, I guess we should eat sooner.
I mean, it's like daily habits of everything. Like, prepare yourself so that your children can see what you're going to do. I remember trying to potty train my first, and he didn't even know really what a potty looked like because our one bathroom in that house was at the entrance to our house on the other side of the baby gate. So he never even saw me go to the bathroom. Like the things that you don't realize, like, set a routine before you even have children so that when you have children, set a routine that you pray together at a reasonable time, or you do have this habit so that your children can then grow into it with you, not so that you are trying to raise a child something that is fully new to you and then also trying to form new habits at the same time. Because I've kind of done a little bit of both, and it's much more difficult to start new habits while also introducing new children in. It's easier to ebb and flow if you already have the routine baseline set. Same thing can be said for if you do have children and your children aren't in the house anymore. It's it's easy to, I mean, I'm not there, but I can see how it could be easy to fall out of routine when
nobody to hold you accountable.
There's no one, there's no children that you need to pray for in the
Yeah.
morning when you wake up. There's no, children that you need to remind across themselves before they do this or they do that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a different stage of life, but it's a reality check of like, just because you don't have someone watching you, God's watching you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's hard to build new habits. That actually I just remembered. So I didn't ever grow up saying the prayers before communion. I don't know that I even really knew that there was prayers before communion, unfortunately. And then I remember staying at my grandparents' house, and it was on a Sunday morning. I came downstairs really early because my kids were up early, and my grandpa's in his kitchen reading out of his prayer book, and I'm thinking, what prayers is he reading? We're going to church. Like,
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, oh, there's prayers before communion. I never even knew this,
I haven't opened my prayer book to see those before.
So, again, get a good prayer book. I had like a little travel one that my mom had given me when I went to college, but like that was all I had, which didn't have all the prayers in it. So that's why I didn't ever know there was prayers before communion, and it wasn't something we did as a family. And it's still really so the way I finally implemented it in my house, because trying to say those prayers at the prayer corner with children while trying to get to church in the morning just seems
on time.
very impossible. So I found somebody on YouTube who reads the prayers. And so we listened to it in the car on the way to church.
How long is it? Under 7
like,
minute, hopefully?
It's like 9.
Go ahead and send that to me.
Or you could record it a little bit quicker. Or you could do it, the 1.2 speed, a little bit faster if you needed to get...
Well, I've got a 7-minute drive, but I'll take it. So.
Yes. So, and it works out well, because if I'm not driving, I can't read. And because a friend from church had said, oh, I read the prayers on our way to church. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I was like, but I can't read in the car
without getting sick.
Exactly.
So.
And my husband doesn't like to read. So, I'm like, that's when I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try to find it on audio. And so that's how that happened. But it's nice because if we're not listening to something in the car, my children will quarrel.
Yeah.
Same with at meal times. If we're not doing like breakfast is kind of rough, like everybody's fighting. So it is nice because it helps us calm our minds and prepare to go to the liturgy and obviously to receive communion. So that was another tip
And along the lines of listening to things, it popped into my head the reminder of building your little church. If it's not something, we kind of talked about this with like modesty. Like, obviously you're not going to wear a bathing suit into church, but think about the things that you're listening to and watching with your children. Is that something you would feel comfortable listening to or watching with your priest or your friends from church? Or and it's really important with children because there's so many children's shows nowadays that it's really hard to like vet all of them, but sometimes I'll like turn one on or I'll try to look it up before I play something for my kids just to find out that there are things that are happening in it that are
not what you want.
Not what I want to discuss
with them
and show to my children. Like they're at an impressionable age. And so like keep in mind what you're playing for your children. Like what are they listening to? What are they singing to? I know some Orthodox people don't love like Christian worship songs, but I play a lot of Christian worship songs because I'd rather my kids listen to that than some other things.
And Christian music has come a long way too.
Yeah.
So. And that's a good thing for the car, again, to keep kids from fighting with one
Yes.
another.
Yes.
Give them
So
something
it's like,
to listen to.
Give
that's
them something
wholesome.
to listen to. Give them something wholesome to listen to.
Yeah.
But,
And yourself. Like guard what you're bringing into your home, the media that you're consuming. is all part of that little church idea.
How we raise our children it's important. It's something that we're not supposed to take lightly. And if we're not putting in any effort, then it's time to start.
Right. So the spiritual atmosphere of our home, it's not just even what we are listening to, but it's also our responses and how we're talking to our children or our spouse, and the language we're using. Does it edify God? I said this to one person. I was like, just remember if you're going to tell my children this, does it make them more holy? Like, otherwise they don't need to hear it. And also, I know some families, they have a habit of in the evening asking for forgiveness, or before they go to school, asking for forgiveness from one another, or before you go to church, asking for forgiveness. That's also another thing, if everybody's fighting on the way to church, and it's like, well, you can't go in the church until you've forgiven your brother. That's kind of a rule. You're not allowed to go in if you have animosity.
I've had many days that I have sat in our car and walked late into church while I prayed to bring myself back to a peaceful state,
right,
because I was angry at people or things happening at church that I'm like, I can't walk into church right now as mad as I am.
Right. You can't. I mean, I'm pretty sure, is it St. John Chrysostom? Like, he says that you can't, like, if you can't forgive your brother and sister, you can't come in.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you can.
You can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah, you shouldn't. And also, yeah, as far as the media, but it's even just creating silence in your house. Like, it's okay. You don't always have to have a TV on or music on or, noise or clutter in your house. Even when you go to do something or bring something in your home, you have to ask the question of why. Is this going to bring me closer to God? Or is this going to glorify God, whatever I'm doing? Yes, it's fine to go out with friends to a bar and have, fellowship together. That is a good thing. But going out to a bar with friends and getting obliterated is not a good thing. So just always, we have a slogan at our church of, on our shirts, it's because you always see on shirts at different stores, it says, do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And we cross that out and say, do what makes you holy. Because what makes you holy isn't always
what makes you happy.
Exactly. So just trying to have that mentality in all of the things you do all the time.
So a nice ending from the blueprint for the little church. They're talking about almsgiving, but really it's something that's applicable to any gift that we have been given from God, our children, the gift that we have been given from God. And the reminder that they say here is that the important part is realizing that we are giving back to God out of our love what he has so graciously given to us out of his own love for us. So we are being thankful and doing our best to guide and raise and put in the effort to show him that we're thankful for everything that he's done for us.
Yes, and one more important thing that I forgot to mention is bringing into our home is the fasting and the almsgiving, and it's not just praying together at home.
Yeah.
Doing those things in the home helps solidify our faith and really bring it to life, and our children can witness that, and our spouse can witness that,
and how we give back to the church.
Correct.
Thank you for tuning into Veiled in Grace. We are an Orthodox women's lifestyle podcast. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We love reading your comments. They've all been so sweet. And share with a friend on any sort of social platform you have, or send this video in a text to one of your friends so that others can reach it and view it as well.
And also along those lines, if you are just listening to the podcast, if you could give us a review, it'll help others find us. And again, any topic suggestions, ideas anyone has, we are all ears and love to hear from you. And we'd love to hear also what you do in your little church.
Little church.
Yes. So let us know in the comments below. God bless you.
Watch out.